controlling project quality, reporting progress, and sign-off. In this video, you will learn about how to ensure the quality of your project deliverables, report project progress on your project, as well as an important but often forgotten duty of the project manager, which is to ensure deliverables and phases are signed off. The video is divided into the following topics: quality assurance, project controlling and reporting, and project sign-off. So let's start looking at quality assurance. There are some key questions before you can implement any quality assurance plan that you need to be clear on. And the first one is, what is the definition of quality? Is it on time? Is it no errors in relation to development or testing? Is it within budget? Is it that certain test has passed test case XX? What is the definition of quality for your project? And this is something that you should involve your team in, and you should sit down and get the common awareness. Remember about managing global teams, different cultures have different definition of quality, and there is no one answer here, and there's different projects has different definitions. So this is something that you need to sit down and agree. At the same time, when involving the team, you will automatically start to create quality awareness in your team. If you do not involve your team, you need to find another approach to create that quality awareness. This is a question that you need to answer, and the best way in my mind is that you involve the team is defining quality. Use their definition of quality and find common consensus. Then you have already started creating the quality awareness in your team. And lastly, you need to look at how to measure quality. That question needs to be answered. How am I going to measure it? So let's look at some best practicing in terms of quality assurance. First of all, you need to determine the scope of your quality assurance process. Now you have the definition clear. Your project team and your project defines quality in this way. Now you need to determine the scope. What are in scope of that quality assurance process? Is it everything? Is it specific deliverables? Is it specific phases of your project? Meaning, could be development work or test work, or is it everything, including the design documents and every single document on your project? Secondly, you need to determine the QA method you will apply. Is it inspections? Is it sample review? Is it full review? Is it an external or internal reviewer that is involved? What is the method that you want to apply? Secondly, you need to communicate the QA scope, method, and roles and responsibility clearly to all project stakeholders. So people have the same understanding of quality, the same understanding of what scope is under the quality assurance process, what is the method that that process will encompass of, and who is the QA reviewer or the people who will be involved in the QA process. Then you need to make performing review and QA activities as important as completing the deliverables itself. This you can do by ensuring that the QA activities are added into the project schedule. It must be a part of the project schedule. You need to track and report on the QA review activities like any other project task. QA activities is just as important as needs to be in the status report. And just as other tasks, you need to revise and adjust the QA process throughout the project execution as needed. And this is to ensure that the review process fit with the project and the stage the project is in at any given time. So that is the QA. Another part is the controlling and reporting. And here we have a few just as important questions. Firstly, what should be the focus of your project controlling activities? Are you focusing on controlling schedule, budget, scope, or are you looking at controlling all of the above? And likewise, what should be reported and to whom? What tools and processes should be used for controlling and for reporting? This is key questions that you need to have answered early on in your project so that you can communicate it. So let's look at some best practices for controlling. Again, you need to determine the scope of the control process. Is it cost, schedule, scope, value, or is it all of above? You need to determine what is the method that you will use. We'll give some examples and get into more deep in it in the coming slides. Use a standard tool as much as possible, such as earned value method, and there's other tools available. Don't try to invent your standard reporting or controlling tools yourself. You will break your neck trying to do so. Use what is out there. That's our recommendation. Communicate and train your team leads in the method used. And here we says team leads. This should be a duty of the team leads to collect, consolidate project controlling and reporting from the team. Ensure control activities are executed consistently throughout the project, meaning all teams, all tracks do it exactly the same way, they have the same awareness, they have the same process of controlling what is under their responsibility consistent. Revise and adjust the controlling process. Just as like the QA process, you need to make sure the controlling process is adjusted and revised throughout the project execution so that it fits with the project and the stage the project is in. And recommendation from our side is keep the process simple and consistent. An advanced process is nothing worth if it's not consistently enforced. So having simple controls but that are enforced will give you a much better result, or at least start simple and then build from there. Some best practicing in controlling continued here. One method which you will hear a lot about when you talk about project and controlling is the earned value method. And here it's a mathematical process where you, based on your project schedule and the effort and the progress, you calculate where am I on this called an S-curve. And this for some is very easy, for some it is quite difficult to understand. Some have never used it. If you're taking any project certification, this is a must to know thing, as it's a large part of the project certification. So this has advantages and disadvantages, and there are some projects that is normally make use of this more than others. I've seen it used on SAP projects, and I've seen a large number of projects going just fine without using it, putting in place other controls. Again, if you want more detail about this, we'll be happy to make actually a dedicated lesson for it, where we can go through each element of this, or you can ask for the forum. Project reporting, which is another part of the controlling process. This is to create awareness. So let's start out looking at some example of project reports. Here we have report with some traffic lights in it with a summary. This is in Excel, it looks like. We have a written report, very statistically heavy, a lot of graphs, a lot of information, very detailed information. Then we have the more prosa part, where it is very the written words, a long description of where are we with whatever the project is. And we have here an example of an integrated report, which is also referred to as a project dashboard. So when talking about project reporting, let's look at the structure and content. So the first item that you should be looking at is who are the receivers of your project reporting. And that should determine the language, detail level. Are we writing to very technical people or executives, and we need to keep it high level? What is the key message you want to send to those receivers? This is the first consideration and the first question that needs to be addressed. Secondly, what are the reporting frequency that you are aiming to achieve? And this should determine the effort required to do the reporting. Where are you in your project life cycle? Again, This should determine the focus in the report. What is the most important thing right now to report on? What tool and resources is available? Consistent execution. You want to make sure that whatever report with whatever frequency to whoever is going to receive it is consistently executed. So let's look at a written report. This is a project status report recommendation from that I have used, or we have used on many projects, and has been working very well. It has a part that is we call the mandatory part. This consists of normally an executive summary, some list of the key achievements from the last period, perhaps financials, update on the project financial, update on the schedule, update on issues, focus on the high issues, don't focus on all of them. Risks, again, focus on the high risk, and key achievements in the next period to come. That then is combined with a phase specific part, as we call it. This is related to where you are in your project life cycle. So if you are in the blueprint phase, you will report on the progress of the blueprint workshops and getting the blueprint design document ready. If you are in the development phase, it's ABAP development. If you are in the final preparation, it's training materials and training execution. If you're in testing, it's test scripts, test status, test readiness, and so on. So the phase specific part changes. The mandatory part is the skeleton for your project report, and it never changes. That was the written report. Then you also had the dashboard, which is something that is becoming more and more common. And here's an example of a dashboard where you have an integrated view. This is Project Budapest, whatever it is. You have a project status with an indicator. You have overall how completed are the project at this stage. You have a focus on the project plan. This is where we are. This is where we are going to. So you have a snapshot of the schedule. You have ongoing activities. What is ongoing at this very moment and how much complete are each activity. You have the issues. Again, this is the top 5 issues based on priority, importance, and so on. Burn down charts. This is what is a little bit like the earned value method, but you have a baseline if the project is executing as planned, which is the gray one here. Then you should be following this line, and then you have the actual burn rate. So here you are a little bit higher, here you're lower, here you're consistent, and the daily completed. So again, this needs to have an explanation, and everyone needs to be trained in reading this, because they need to understand what the burn rate are we talking about. Is it hours? Is it external hours from vendors that is going to invoice us this work, or is it the work, no matter internally and externally, that is going to happen? What is the burn rate we are tracking? Very powerful tool, but it requires that everyone understand what's behind it. Project timeline, high level. So if you can see what is going to happen, what are the milestones throughout the project, and you will then mark where you are now. This is where you are now, and people can see what to come, or where are they in the project life cycle. It could be that you are here now. So this is an integrated dashboard which gives you a very good overview. You have up there also outstanding issue. This could be top 5 risks. So you have the issues here. You have 3 high level issues. So there's many ways to construct this dashboard. And if you want to construct it, this is what you need to do. First of all, you need to sit down with the receivers of the dashboard. Again, you need to go through those considerations that we listed before. Who are the receivers? What is the duration? What is the information you want to relay or communicate? To draw up with them, what should the dashboard encompass of? Then you refine that, and you start looking at, okay, this is how I'm going to design my dashboard. And you need to look at, in this step 2, what is the data sources that I'm going to put in this dashboard. Then you make a prototype in 3 here. This is how it's going to look like, and you get approval of this, and then you start to execute it. And you need to then look at the frequency in the previous chart, and you need to look at how often do I need to update it. Is this a real-time thing where every day or every time I update something in my project management system or my project management software, automatically it generates the dashboard? With SAP Solution Manager becoming more and more integrated and more innovative, as we discussed in previous lessons, you will see that a lot of this dashboard functionality actually can come out from SAP Solution Manager. So let's look at some project reporting best practices. Reporting requirement changes during the life cycle of an SAP project. So make sure that that's incorporated. Ensure a consistent reporting structure and format. This is where if you go with a dashboard, you keep that dashboard throughout the project. If you go with a written report, you have the mandatory part and the phase-specific part. Get buy-in from the receivers of the status report at the beginning. Agree on the format. Send them a sample. Say, this is how I'm intending to do my reporting. Will that fit with your expectations? Otherwise, you will spend a lot of effort producing a report that is never used. So get buy-in. Use a standard tool as much as possible. If you're going for the burn rate, use the earned value method. It's known. You might have a lot of people on your project who is known to use that tool from other projects, or it might even be a standard in your organization. But be aware that the earned value method will not show the health of your project and should not stand alone. You need to have some kind of traffic light or some kind of subjective measurement on top of the mathematically earned value method. Reuse existing reporting tools and formats already in use by other projects in your organization. Don't reinvent the wheel. Reporting can quickly become very cumbersome and take a lot of time and become very demotivating from your team members, especially if you don't have the buy-in, meaning that there is a feeling that this report that I'm writing, spend time on writing every night or every week, no one cares about it or no one uses it. I've seen projects starts out with a very big reporting, a very complicated reporting structure and project report, and then at the end of the day, as the project evolved, they scale down because they find out that it's not used, it's not functional, it's not practical, and by this stage you already demotivated your team, so it's better to go the other way. Get buy-in, start with it simple, functional, and consistent report, as it says here in the bottom. And whatever report you build, if it's a dashboard, if it's the earned value method, if it's a written report, if it's a simple traffic light, whatever the report might be, make sure you communicate to everyone the report duration, the content, the receivers, the expectations, and you train your team leads and perhaps even the team members in the method that you're going to use to produce it. With that said, let's move on to the project sign-off part. So project sign-off, a fundamental duty of the project manager, but also not often an overlooked part or a neglected part. So what is a project sign-off? Is it a handshake? Is it an email? Is it a signature on a piece of paper? Well, let's look at some project sign-off best practices. So you need to agree on the sign-off criteria. And this will answer the question, what is the method you are going to use for sign-off? And what is the schedule that the sign-off needs to happen? So if you are in your blueprint phase, or even before in the project initiation, you might need to have a sign-off to the project charter, to the staffing plan, in the business blueprint, you will need sign off to the design documents. So make sure everyone knows before you start the actual work what is the criteria for the sign off, when is it going to happen, and what is the method for signing it off. Then enforce on your project that work cannot be completed before a sign off is achieved. That is very important, and to enforce it you need to communicate the sign off process before work start. You want to enforce the work cannot be completed before sign off is achieved, and tool for doing that is that you communicate the sign off process before work starts. Preferably you have it ready and you can communicate it to your team during the project kickoff. Then enforce the work cannot start before prerequisite work is signed off. Same process, and reflect the sign-off status in your reporting, including the impact of any delayed or postponed or pending sign-off. So those that needs to be available can make sure that they are available, and if they are not, or they are reluctant to sign off, they are aware of the impact. Do not assume any sign-offs will be smooth. Even though if it's internal projects and even though the person are available, the word sign-off is scary to many people. Even managers and many people are reluctant to put ink on the paper, to return the email saying confirmed, or to handshake on it. So don't expect it to be smoothly no matter what level in the organization or what setup you are looking at. If it's an external vendor, internal vendor, it doesn't really matter. I have never seen a project with smooth sign-off. I've seen projects that has had a good sign-off process and it has been executed well, but there's always been bump on the road. With that said, let's complete this lesson with a summary. You should now have a good understanding of how to ensure the quality of your project deliverables, the report of the progress, how it can be done, as well as the often forgotten duty of the project manager to ensure a proper sign-off process.